Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. This is our daily MLB baseball pitching preview show where we get Joe Duffy's always valuable insights into the upcoming matchups and pitching assignments. Right now we're looking at the card for Tuesday, August 4th. Joe Duffy's website, of course, is offshoreinsiders.com, and that's where you can find his picks every day. And Joe Duffy, you nailed your call on Yovani Gallardo in our last call where he was starting. You were dead on that you expected him to struggle. Texas did manage to pull out that win, though, despite another bad start for Gallardo, and that actually makes now 2 straight bad starts for Gallardo that Texas has still managed to win. But what do you expect from him here? He's been struggling. You expected that to continue his last start. Here he's going to be at home against Houston. Do you think it continues once more for Gallardo?
Most likely. Gallardo has really struggled this year, but to be honest with you, Texas has been as streaky as any team in baseball. So I think Texas may be the poster child of why I always say the truth. And I know this is where we discuss pitchers, but I think people handicap pitching a little bit too much, and the sharps like me handicap offense a lot more. And the way Texas has been this year, more than any other team, I think that, yes, it's very important to see how the pitchers are doing, but keep an eye on how Texas's offense is coming into this game.
Yeah, and Mike Fiers is on the other side for Houston, making his first start. And, you know, overall, he's decent, quality starter, but he could easily struggle here against Texas. And I could see this easily being another game where Gallardo, you know, goes 6 innings, gives up 4 or 5 runs, but Texas winds up picking up the win anyway. So maybe we want to lean over in this one more than anything else. What do you think?
Yeah, and Gallardo, by the way, he's pitched his best against the Astros. 14-4 with a 2.99 ERA lifetime against them. In the case of Fiers, I know I've said before that so often stud pitchers, when they switch a team, that I usually go against them early. In a couple games, I know this weekend, maybe got a break in extra innings. But in the case of not so great pitchers, often it lights a fire under them, and no pun intended, I guess. So in the case here that maybe Houston would have the slight pitching advantage because of that, but the fact that Gallardo has saved some of his best for the Astros, maybe, if anything, it could be an underplay because you're going to have a pretty high total.
And then the rematch between John Lackey and Anthony DeSclafani. And in the first game, I told you that I thought DeSclafani would have probably a good start and that I was liking the under, and that certainly did come to pass. Here, though, the rematch is at Cincinnati, and, you know, as great as Lackey has been, you know, he did start at Cincinnati once already this year. It was the first start of the season. That was not good. He got hit. I think DeSclafani will struggle again at home, as he has all year long, basically. And I'm thinking maybe we lean to an over here. I'm not exactly sure that Lackey's going to be able to continue his streak of awesome starts here at Cincinnati. What do you think, Joe?
I would tend to agree with you. DeSclafani did pitch very well against St. Louis last time out, but he's one of these young guns, and what do I say about them, that we like to bet on unpredictability. So I do think he will be, quote-unquote, predictably unpredictable, and he will probably likely get roughed up here. And as you said, you know, Lackey, he has had 9 straight quality starts. I would say maybe the advantage him, if anything, I would lean more towards St. Louis as a pitching advantage. But, of course, anytime you bet on the Cardinals, you got to ask the question about, are you getting good value? But I would agree that DeSclafani is probably going to get slapped around a little bit.
Okay, and then Justin Verlander goes again. Always fun to try to guess how he's going to do. I told you in his last start, in our video we covered his last start, that I thought he was going to have a good start at Tampa Bay, and that did happen. What's going to happen here at home against Kansas City? Kansas City can have a productive lineup. I'm not exactly sure. My feeling is that it's going to be one of those 6 or 7 inning, 3 or 4 run starts. Getting crushed is a possibility, but I guess I'm semi-sold on Verlander now, and I'm expecting 6 or 7 innings, 3 or 4 earned runs. What do you think, Joe?
I would agree with you. Look, I said that I was going to take a wait-and-see approach on Verlander, that if anything, just because of his name and his career, he would be a little bit overvalued. The odds makers, I think, have really adjusted to the facts that sharps were going against him. And look, he's now, with each start since coming off of the DL, he seems to be getting better and better. I think he's back to being certainly a much better than average pitcher. Whether or not he's returning to being one of the premier pitchers in the game, I'm not so sure about that. But I would look for a very solid outing from Verlander here.
See, I'm looking at like mediocre, slightly on the subpar side, like maybe 6 innings, 4 runs, 7 innings, 4 runs, something like that. But you're expecting a little bit better than that?
Yeah, 7. I mean, I think also said before 7 innings, 3 runs. That's a pretty solid outing.
Yes.
But as far as, am I looking for the old Justin Verlander where he's going to go 8 innings and give up 1 run? Not necessarily that, but I would agree. 7 innings, 4 runs, 7 innings, 3 runs is about what I would expect. But probably more towards the 3. If you want to set the over-under 3.5, I'll take the under.
All right, and then we have marquee pitching matchup, Pat Corbin against Max Scherzer. Both guys are dealing. I told you that I expected Scherzer to have a big bounce-back start at his last start, and that did happen. I'm thinking probably another excellent start from him here, and we've seen a bunch of these marquee pitching matchups with totals around 6 that have actually delivered and gone under. The total in this one's probably going to be 6-ish again. What do you expect here from this matchup, Corbin and Scherzer?
Yeah, you're never going to get max value with Scherzer because the whole world knows that he's a super stud pitcher. But in the case of Corbin, he's a little bit more under the radar. So you're going to get a pretty good number. His last 2 starts, just 2 runs over 13 innings, striking out 16. He's obviously much younger than Verlander, but like Verlander coming off of the DL, he seems to be getting better and better each start. So maybe there could be some value with Arizona. And like you said, even though it's a low total, possibly some value on the under. And I admit, look, probably every handicapper has his biases. I get a little nervous betting those low totals under, but I do, at the end of the day, I try to overcome those biases, and if it is a true underplay, I will certainly release it as that.
And then finally, Jerome Williams is starting again for Philadelphia. Every time he starts, it's always eye-opening because you're thinking, you either want to bet on the other team, maybe on the run line, or on an over if the other pitcher is, someone you expect to get hit. Alex Wood is starting for the Dodgers on the other side, and he's been kind of up and downish this year. His last start was excellent, though. 7 shutout innings at Baltimore. That's not an easy assignment. Here he's going to be at Philadelphia, and Philadelphia was the most profitable team in baseball in July. So they have absolutely been winning, overachieving, and cashing, and profitable to bet on. In this situation, though, I don't know. It feels to me like you want to take Dodgers on the run line, right?
In the case of Williams, he's been awful. I know that he started to get a little bit better before he went on the DL, but he's got a 5.91 ERA since in 2 starts since returning from the disabled list. This is, Alex Wood. It kind of gets back to my theory. He's obviously pitching his first game for the Dodgers, a very solid pitcher. For whatever the exact reason is, and there are some legitimate reasons. It does seem that when pretty good starters have their first outing with a new team, they're often go against. Keep in mind, the Phillies have been far and away the best Units 1 team since the All-Star break. They're playing that us against them type team. So it's, if anything, I might pass because it's tough to go with Williams, but it's really tough to go against Philadelphia at this point.
But I think in this case, in this situation, Wood, absolutely, when it's someone marquee like Johnny Cueto or someone like that, you want to bet against him. But someone like Wood, he's not one of these names that everyone's talking about as this blockbuster acquisition from the Dodgers. He's basically on the same level, basically, as Matt Latos in terms of hype. Do you think that idea of fade a top pitcher in his first start on a new team applies here with Wood?
Not necessarily, but keep in mind that he's, going from where there wasn't quite so much pressure on him, and now he's pitching on the road, thrust into a pennant race. So it is kind of uncharted water for him. A little bit easier when you're pitching in Atlanta and, you're part of a young up-and-coming team. And now, he wasn't traded for to be their stud 2-3 years down the road. They want him to join which is certainly the best top-heavy pitching staff in Major League Baseball, and they want him to be a cog to win the World Series. So he's under a little bit more pressure in this. So I don't know. Look, the Phillies have obviously overall been an atrocious team, but lately they've been so good. But who has the pitching advantage here? No matter how you spin it, it is the Dodgers, yes.
All right, Joe Duffy. Well, despite all that, I think that is going to be my strongest lean for Tuesday, August 4th, the Dodgers on the run line. And what else would you like to bring to our attention from the Tuesday, August 4th card, Joe?
Jake Arrieta, we know he's a pretty darn good pitcher, but he's been great lately. 1.53 ERA in his last 8 starts, 58 Ks over 58 2/3 innings. Like I said, strikeouts are overrated, but when they're corroborating a great whip and a great ERA, then they can be pretty darn important. And Shoemaker for the Angels, he's been pitching very well. 1.78 ERA over his last 5 starts. And Hey, all of a sudden the Mets seem to be for real. And John Neese, we've talked about him being a little bit on the streaky side, but he is definitely trending upward, going with a 2.94 ERA in both the months of June and July combined. So not too bad.
Joe Duffy's final official picks, premium picks, can be found at his website, everydayoffshoreinsiders.com. Thanks, Joe.